Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Great guest today. This is a guy inspired the heck out of me back in the late 80s. He's been through quite a bit. He's got a story to tell that you're not even going to believe. Please welcome Franco Santoriello. How are you, Franco?
Hey man, I am good, brother. I am blessed. I'm blessed to be alive. Life is good. I'm thriving. I'm just living my dream today. You know, people ask me, how's life? And I say, well, I'm living my dream. And truly today is my dream. Not back when I was a pro bodybuilder and this ramping the stage and making magazine covers. And that was cool, man. It was good stuff. It really was. It was a fun time, but it was a lot of pain back then, a lot of darkness. But today, you know, I have a beautiful wife, an amazing wife, the best wife in the world. Of course, every husband better say that. I got a cool little son. He's 2 years old, man. He drives his, man, he wears me out. We have a ministry. We got a nonprofit and launching a new business called All In. It's about being all in physically and spiritually. So I'm real excited about life today, Ron.
Cool. So a lot of my viewers are on the younger side. They probably aren't too familiar with you. So I want to start with some background. You were one of the best teenage bodybuilders maybe ever. So let's start with how you got into the sport. You were a football player in we didn't have middle school. We called it junior high back in our day, didn't we?
Right. Yeah. Junior high.
So a friend of yours, I don't know what you like, 16 years old. A friend of yours decided he was going to do a contest, and he talked you into doing it.
15 years old. Right. Yeah.
15. Wow.
Yeah. I'm 15, actually 14 years old. I'm a football player, and my mind, the way I'm wired, brother, is I am all in. I mean, whatever I'm doing, I'm going hard at it. Okay. And football was my thing at the time. So, man, I am doing everything in my power because it was me and my father's dream that I was going to go be a college football player. And I was going to be a college football player. Gosh darn it, I was going to be a D1 big time player. Wow. I mean, I was fast. I was strong. All the gifts I had in bodybuilding, I had that in football even more. But so yeah, I like 8th grade, man. I mean, I read a book about Walter Payton taking ballet. So I'm like, hey, mom, man, sign me up for ballet. She goes, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. I want to take ballet. Wow. She goes, all right. And I did. I took ballet. But also, you know, at that time, I knew weightlifting was going to be, you know, football players worked out with the weights. So I started working out, you know, pretty heavy at home. And I finally got my mom and dad. I talked them into getting me a moped and a membership down at the Southern Indiana Health Center. So I could, you know, I got home from school. I get on my moped. I drive down to the gym and work out. Well, I met this cat down there. His name was Kevin, little rocker. And he was 18. Yeah. And I was 15 years old at the time. And he wanted to do his bodybuilding show. And he wanted me to do it with him. And I'm like, no, man, I'm cool, bro. I'm a football player, man. I'm not putting no little skinnies on there and oiling up my glutes. And no way, bro. But anyways, the boy wouldn't leave me alone, man. He really did. He just nagged me and nagged me. He didn't want to do the show by himself. And he's like, okay, man. I was like, all right, bro, let's try this stuff out, this bodybuilding thing. You know what I mean? Whatever. I had no idea I had genetics or potential or anything, you know? So, you know, I go to the local big time bodybuilder in the area, you know, I have put me on a diet, teach me a training routine. I mean, a posing routine. We go to the show. There's 21 guys in the show. And it was called the Kentuckiana. It was AAU. Okay. It was Kentucky and Indiana. They merged the two states together, called it the Kentuckiana teenage competition. 21 guys. I'm the youngest guy in the show. They're all 18, 19. I get there and I see all these guys. And I had no idea what judges are looking for. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm way out of my league. Well, you know, they called these last 5 guys to go out there. I didn't even know what they were doing. Like they called our names. I'm like, oh, they call my name. I go out on stage and they have us do some poses and do this and do that. And they say in 5th place. And I'm like, wait a minute, 5th place. I'm in the top 5. Wow. You know, and then they 4th place, 3rd place, and they said 2nd place, Frank Santoriello. I'm like, what the heck? I took 2nd place on the youngest guy in the show. Yeah. And it was just like, wow, man, this is cool. Well, that was the end of my football career. And that was the beginning of my bodybuilding career, you know.
What year? What year was this? Like 79, 80?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I won the teen nationals in 83 and 84, and I was 18. So go 3 years before that, because I was 15. So you're talking about 80?
Yeah, wow.
1980, yeah.
Oh, 41 years ago, wow. So
yeah, and
are you originally from Indiana? That's where you originally came from?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was born in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, Hershey, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and raised in Southern Indiana, Hoosier. My dad was an architect. He worked for U.S. Steel, and he got transferred out there. So, you know, I was raised as Hoosier. I was a guinea Hoosier.
Not too many, I'm guessing.
No, there's only in our town. There's only like 3 Italian families. There's the Tedescos, the Sartinis, and the Santoriellos.
Yeah.
We were all studs.
I mean, this is out of nowhere, but I always thought you had like the coolest name for bodybuilding. I was like, man, if I could pick a name and to be a bodybuilder, it'd probably be Franco Santoriello. It just sounded like a strong name, you know?
Yeah.
Like a movie character or something. So you won a bunch of teenage shows after that, right?
Yeah, well, I did after I did that competition, I immediately went to the Teenage Ohio Valley and I won that. Then I went into the Teenage Kentucky and I won that, went into the Teenage New Jersey at 17 years old, and I won that weight class, the lightweight class. And then I decided, hey, I want to do this Teenage USA in Atlanta. And I trained for it and I won. Wow. In my class. And then there's a guy, you probably might remember him, is Lou Zawick.
I worked for Lou for 8 years.
Yeah. Lou found me. He saw me, you know, and he invited me to California. He said, hey, I'll put you on a plane. We'll do this Teenage Nationals. We'll get some pictures. So he took me under his wing as like kind of my sports agent then. Yeah. We went out to California the week later and won the Teen Nationals. And I decided, you know, hey, man, lightweight class wasn't good enough for me. I wanted the overall title. So I went back in '84 and the Teenage USA up against Eddie Robinson won his class. I won my class. Yeah. I got to go against him in the overall. And that was the one time I beat Eddie and he beat me the other time. Yeah. But Eddie's a great guy, man. I love Eddie. I get to chit chat with him on Facebook now and then, but great guy.
Yeah, but then I just want to let people know, because I don't think because the young kids, if they go to contests now, there might be like 1 or 2 teenagers in a show. And a lot of times there's no teenagers. When you were competing at that level,
oh man, we were deep.
Stacked. It was a lot of, and it was a lot of them are pros now. A lot of them became pros.
When I won the Teen Nationals, check it out. It was Shane DeMore won the lightweight class. He turned pro. Yeah. Shawn Ray was in my class. He turned pro. Paul D'Amelia. I mean, Ciccarello. There's a lot of guys. There's a big names. Yeah. You know, those teenage competitions were stacked.
They were brutal back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that. So in '84, I won the Teen Nationals, Teen USA overall title, and I think I'm the only teenage bodybuilder to ever do that, to win both titles overall in 1 year.
I want you to tell a story, because I listened to another interview you did a couple of years ago, and I never knew any of this. So before you won Teen Nationals, where you beat Shawn Ray, yeah, that's pretty crazy that you beat Shawn Ray, because he was very good even as a teen. You had stopped training for a couple of weeks.
You want to hear that story?
Yeah, that's a great story, because there's a lot of people out there that can relate to that.
This is where people get to find out, and you young guys, this is by all means, I am not glorifying the devil. I am not saying any of my old lifestyle was good, because it was very destructive. It killed me. It put me in prison. I mean, it was not good the way I lived my life. I lived reckless. I was a hardcore drug addict. Check it out. In 1984, I go to the teen. I trained. I mean, after I won the lightweight class, I dedicated that year to getting big, because I knew I had to move up the weight class, and I was gunning for the Teen USA and the Teen Nationals, man. Lou Zawick's helping me out, man. He's, keeping in touch with me. I go to the Teen USA. I dial it in. I go down there. In fact, I flew into Daytona Beach. The show was in Miami, and my dad let me borrow his car to get to Miami. This is the drug addict I was. I had an 8-ball of coke, and me and my girlfriend are snorting lines all the way down to Miami. The day before I get to my hotel, I'm wired off my butt. I drink about 5 pina coladas. I go against Eddie Robinson the next day to Teen USA and beat him. Wow. Okay. This is crazy. I'm not, like I said, by all means, man, I am not bragging about that stuff. That is bad news, man. If I hadn't been those drugs, and you could probably vouch for this. So I had done all them drugs with my genetics and my physique. I may have been a Mr. Olympia. You know what I mean? If I had all them setbacks and all that time off, and my career didn't get, struck from, anyways. So yeah, so I just went to Team USA and I got like 14 weeks to the Teen Nationals. I'm like, yeah, man. And I knew this guy, Shawn Ray. I heard about this teenage California I was going to be going up against. So I knew I had to get back to the drawing board and, dialed in for the next show. Yeah. But I'm on the Jersey Shore, bro. I live on the Jersey Shore. My brother just went AWOL from the Marine Corps, and he came home for that summertime. It's summertime. And, I'm like, hey, man, I deserve a few days off. Okay.
Yeah.
So I take a few days off. Well, a few days turned into 8 weeks.
Wow.
I did not lift a weight for 8 weeks. 7 nights a week, I was in the clubs drinking. And again, I am not bragging about this, partying, running around with women. And last thing I was doing was working out weights. Well, Zwick is calling me every week, asking me how I'm doing. And I'm lying I'm a drug addict, so I'm a good liar. I'm lying my tail off. Oh yeah, we're doing good, Lou. We're doing good. We're going to get ready. Finally it was like 7 weeks till the show. And he's like, hey, Franco, we got 7 weeks, can you send me some pictures? And I said, well, Lou, man, honestly, bro, I said, I'm going to get straight with you. And I started crying, man. I was broken about this, man. I said, dude, I can't do the show. And he's like, why? I'm like, man, I haven't lifted a weight in 8 weeks. What are you talking about? You told me that. I'm like, yeah, man, I lie to you. But, so I had lost, you don't work out for 8 weeks and you do a lot of drugs. You don't eat. So, you can become skinny and fat.
Yeah.
And I had that muscle memory, of course. I had just one, Yeah. So he says, well, listen, he goes, hold on a second. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm going to call you right back. He calls me back. He says, all right, you're going to get on a plane tomorrow morning. You're flying to Cincinnati, Ohio. This guy, John Perillo, is going to pick you up and he's going to train you for the Teen Nationals. He said, if anybody can do it, this guy's going to do it. You can just go do whatever he tells you to do. And I was like, well, man, I had that. I'm like, I had the hope, but I was, how am I going to do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, 7 weeks later on stage against Shawn Ray. And Shawn Ray, even as a teenager, he's beautiful, beautiful physique, amazing guy. I beat him, won the Teen Nationals overall after 8 weeks sabbatical.
I just want to mention Perillo because, I've been writing for John since 93. I knew him because I worked for Lou in the 90s. So that's Lou and John were good friends. So that's how I met John. He doesn't get a lot of recognition or credit because he doesn't want it. But he's been instrumental in a lot of careers from back then. He helped a lot of people out.
So I'm going to tell you real quick here, speaking of John, let's mention this because as I was telling you before we started this, 18 weeks ago or 19 weeks ago, my wife and I, now my wife wasn't a professional bodybuilder. She's been in the gym. She loves working out, but she's been running our cleaning company. But I decided we're going to launch this new company, All In Fitness. And I said, hey, Morgan, we're both a little out of shape right now. So let's take some pictures and 20 weeks, let's dial it in and let's do a before and after transformation and show our pictures because I'm going to create an ad. I'm going to, do some marketing and show our before and after pictures and tell our story, show our stats. This is my wife. I'm not even going to tell you my numbers, but my wife, female, drug-free, of course.
Yeah. On
2/10, that's February 10th, she was 25% body fat. Okay. Now on 5/28, which was last month.
Yeah.
So that was only a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
She was, her lean mass. Okay. So she was 190 pounds, 25% body fat at 142 pounds lean mass. Yeah. Now this is, the program I put us on is Perillo. It's the Perillo principles, the nutrition, the supplements, the training, the stretching, all of it. Now, 8 to 19 weeks later, she's now 162 pounds of lean mass.
Wow. From
142, drug-free.
20 pounds of muscle.
She's 179 pounds, and her body fat is 9.4.
Wow.
25% to 9.4. And that is just, and we're not hungry. We eat, we train. It's all about training intense, stretching, getting the right nutrients, the right rest, and the right amount of calories and food. And man, people have no idea what they can do if they just do it right. Everybody's looking for a shortcut and an easy way and this and that. And I'm not knocking supplements. I'm not knocking nothing, man. You take things in moderation, it's good, but this is hardcore, straight nutrition, training, cardiovascular exercise, the stretching, all of it together. And those are the numbers we put out. Me, I was 224 pounds at 23% body fat. And I'm now like a little between 7 and 8% body fat. I'm hitting the scales around 212.
Wow.
So, yeah, so this is like, you know, getting ready for this. I was saying before, and I'm not saying anything to anybody out there because I have no idea. Only God knows my future. But if the Lord directs me and this may work out, I'm thinking what I'm seeing my body come back and do, I'm thinking maybe 2 years from now, man, I could get on that Masters Olympia stage in the classic bodybuilding and maybe do a little bit of damage, but not for me this time. I don't want to compete because I want to win titles. I want to compete and get out there and people say, man, this guy, who is this guy? He was way back then. They hear my story and they see me doing well on stage, or even if I don't get on stage, the people are going to see my physique again very soon. I'm going to be unveiling it. I'm unveiling my physique in 4 weeks when I take my final picture. My wife's doing hers this weekend because she's ready. But in 4 weeks, when I'm about 4%, I'm taking my final pictures and I'm going to show my transformation. But I'm thinking, hey, that classic bodybuilding they have today, maybe not, but what you can do, you know what I mean? Just do proper physical, you know, training. And of course, my training isn't just fitness. It's just not physical training. There's a lot of spiritual training that goes on in my life because, you know, we're fighting the battle today, and it's not in the natural, you know what I mean? It's in the supernatural, and there's, you know what I mean? It's all up in the mind. I mean, you know, we don't wage war against flesh and blood, as it's been, you know, well, anyways, that's another day and another discussion.
I got to, before I forget, Perillo told me a story about, he used to talk about when he trained you.
Yeah.
He said, you had this unique ability where you would be going crazy heavy. Like he said, I think he said you were like incline barbell pressing 405 for reps, and you got to failure at one point. And he said, Franco would just get this look in his eyes. You said, there's no way he's getting another rep. There's no way. He'd get this look in his eyes and he'd knock out like another 5 reps. He says he never saw anything like it.
That's basically able to on demand release your adrenaline. You know what I mean? I have when I get to a point, you know what I mean, it's like I can get my something like, you know what I mean, and just flick, you know what I mean, and all of a sudden something else kicks in, you know what I mean, that adrenaline. And I mean, I built my physique, bro, and this is the fact. I told it on Palumbo, and a lot of people are like, yeah, right, he's a liar. What am I gonna lie, bro? I'll tell you, I was a dope addict, I was a crack addict, I was a porn addict, I was an adulterer, I was everything bad. Okay. So why am I going to lie about this? I'm not gonna say I didn't do steroids. I didn't do a lot of steroids. Okay. True fact. In fact, when I won the nationals in '89, my cycle was a bottle of Winstrol V. You know why I didn't do steroids? I tell the story like this because I had sponsors. I had people get me steroids. I had, you know, but I would get my drugs and I would go sell them to get Coke and do my thing because I was that bad of a drug addict. So I never did GH. I never did big cycles. I always just did just enough to get by. I built my physique, bro, on the Perillo principles: intense, heavy training, good nutrition, good supplementation, cardiovascular exercise, and fascial stretching.
Yeah, fascial stretching.
And good genetics.
It's funny because fascial stretching, people used to make fun of Perillo for promoting that. They thought it was like ridiculous because what we're talking about is like stretching under load. Like when you're done with chest, you take a pair of heavy dumbbells and you hold the stretch position for like 60 seconds or something. But then 20 years later, Dante Trudell and his DC training, he incorporated a lot of the same principles. And again, they worked and people got on the bandwagon with it. But it was John started that way back in like the late 70s.
John Perillo is like, he's a genius. Yeah. The man is a genius. I mean, I'm around him. I still go over there, get supplements all the time. I use his product. You know, I never took a Cybergenics in my life. That was a big lie. I told that story. I mean, in my book, chapter 6 is the big lie. The big lie in my life where I sold out on Perillo to go get this money from Cybergenics because I was a drug addict. I needed money to fuel my addiction, and John wasn't giving it to me at the time. So, you know what I mean? I went where I had to get my drugs. Yeah. But
you were because of Cybergenics, so you were probably one of the most recognizable bodybuilders in the world at that time, for sure.
did do that. They marketed the explosive success of Franco Santoriello globally. I mean, on national television commercials, the ESPN, all the magazines, they had print ads. In fact, I figured it out, how much money they spent. And this is a rough estimate. They spent, I believe, like over a 2-year period when they first marketed the explosive success of Franco Santoriello, $10 million marketing my lie. Wow. Between all the print ads they did and all the ESPN commercials and all that stuff, marketing my lot. But that 10 million they spent, he got back 250 million, guaranteed.
Wow. So you never actually, so people, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Cybergenics, it was around in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe even too. It was a kit. I think it came in a 60-day or a 90-day kit, and it was a box with different supplements.
Yeah, I think
I bought it. Well, my wife got it for me at the time. And you said the supplements were crap. You never even used the supplements.
Never took them.
It came with a really good workout and a good diet. And so people got results from that.
If you follow a good workout and a good diet, you're going to get good results. It doesn't matter what you take. You know what I mean? Bottom line. Yeah. So, but everybody wants that magic pill. You know what I mean? Because
I mean, later on, you know, companies like Muscle Tech were throwing so much money at the athletes. You don't have to give me a dollar figure, but were you compensated well for? Because I know they made a shit ton of money.
I should have got paid real good for that. They gave me a contract. I think it lasted 7 years. I made $42,000 a year for 7 years. Dude, that was nothing compared to the hundreds of millions of dollars they were making off my life. But the guy took care of me. You know what I mean? He followed me. The guy, Scott Chinnery, he knew I had a drug addiction. He tried to help me, like put me in rehabs a couple times. He never fired me. He kept me on board, even though I was a hardcore drug addict and I wasn't doing nothing. But and then when he finally sold the company for $130 million, I think, I got fired like 6 months later by the new owners. And I mean, I think they went out of business like 2 years later because they didn't do the marketing he did. Because you know, he was a marketing genius, that guy Chinnery. Absolutely. God rest his soul.
Oh, did he pass away? Because I remember was he the one that bought the original Batmobile?
Yeah, he had the Batmobile. He had the Bat Cycle. He was a very extraordinary, eccentric guy. Owned the Chinnery collection of like one of the most exotic guitar collections in the world. Yeah. He had a lot of famous rock stars' guitars, I believe, like signed and everything. Oh yeah, I seen him. I used to go in his house all the time. But he passed about I think, man, I was like 35 years old or something, 32. I always thought you were much, because back then, if somebody was a couple years older than me, I think, oh my, they're so old. How old are you now? I'm just curious because I'm almost 50. November. You'll be how old? 56. Okay, so yeah, I'll be 52. You were only 4 years older than me that whole time. Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, done, bro. I'm feeling good, brother. I'm feeling real good, man. I tell you one thing, I'm the healthiest I've ever been because I'm drug free. Okay, I'm clean. I have a great relationship with Christ. You know what I mean? So I'm good, man. My life is very good. You know what I mean? I'm very pleased. I'm very content with where I'm at. You know what I mean? I'm starting this new business, and it's a business. I call it a businesstry. Okay. And for the listeners out there, anybody listening to this story right now, and if you may be going through something in your life where, you could have a drug addiction or you suffer from depression or anxiety, suicidal. I mean, I've been hospitalized for suicide. I've been through so many addictions, you know what I mean? And I've overcome, you know what I mean? And I didn't overcome. Christ overcame the world and he lives in me. So I'm an overcomer. But anyways, I'm launching a new business to mentor men and women in the fitness world that want to learn this training that I do that gets the best results in the world. You know what I mean? It's not a magic pill. There's no gimmicks. It's just the right information to get the best results. And along with it it's like a mentorship program then, help people spiritually, you know what I mean? Guide them on a good path, you know what I mean? Because it's so easy out there. And the young listeners out there, it's so easy to go down the wrong path. You know what I mean? I've been down the wrong path. I went down the wrong path. And for me, it ended up with heroin overdoses that killed me, massive heart attacks, widowmaker heart attacks that I was flatline dead, put in a hospital for suicide in a 3-year prison sentence. So that's what my bad decisions cost me. But today I've learned, and now I have, a very healthy lifestyle of a relationship with the Lord, you know what I mean? Taking care of myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. And my life thrives. It's very fruitful, man. I mean, I'm 56 years old and the healthiest I've ever been in my life. Oh. Yeah, I want to back up and remind people that right around the time you turned pro, it was a very, very tough period in bodybuilding to turn pro. So people don't realize the USA, one guy turned pro. One. Yeah.
The
Oh
North
my God.
American, one guy turned pro, one. At the
Yeah.
Nationals, just the class winner. So this is how you ended up turning pro. 88 Nationals. You are second to
9.
Vince Taylor.
Yeah, right. Vince Taylor.
One of the best, one of the greatest pros of all time. You know, he's won the Masters Olympia like 5 times,
So
something.
can I take it real quick to interject? And I promise I'll shut up after that because I have a bad problem with over talking people.
Yeah.
But when I went up against Vince Taylor in 88, you know, that was only with 1 year of weight training.
Really?
I had taken a 2-year break. That was the before Cybergenics picture. I trained for 1 year and took second to Vince Taylor in the Nationals. And the next year I got my pro card after only 2 years of training. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, your muscle memory was fantastic. And I mean, obviously your genetics, I mean, all these guys we're talking about, Vince, you're all the genetic elite, but to be able to abuse your body the way you did and to stop training for these long periods and then come back and look as good as you did, that's amazing. So 89 USA, you took second to Eddie Robinson, but then in 89 at the Nationals, you won the class and you beat you beat Al Q Gurley, who won the overall the year after that, Porter Cottrell, who was light heavy winner in 91 when Leveroni won the overall. And he actually beat Kevin at their first pro encounter together. You beat Flex Wheeler in that show.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
my light heavyweight class at the Nationals, I think was the toughest, deepest class ever.
It was, yeah.
Had the most talent in one those top 5 guys. There was more talent there. They all turned pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they're all at their best. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I look at some of those because I used to. That's the era I started getting the magazine and cutting the pictures out, put them on my walls. And the top 5 at a lot of those in the heavies and the light heavies back then, they're better than the top 5 at most pro shows today. And these were just like the top 5 best amateurs in the country at that time.
Yeah,
I'm just curious because you know you follow the sport now a little bit, I'm sure, right?
a little bit, man. I need to start following a lot more because I'm going to get involved in it again. You know what I mean?
You're aware that hundreds and hundreds of people turn pro every year, just in our country alone, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, between the men and women, because there's 11 different divisions now.
Everywhere, everybody I see everybody's an IFBB pro. It's pro. I'm like, man, how do they, they just hand them out for free? You could buy a pro card.
There's so many shows to turn pro and a lot of, I won't even get into it. It's a whole other discussion, but I try to tell people, and they just think I'm being a grouchy old man when I say, back then, if you met a pro, he was exceptional. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was a pro. I
go to a gym, Bayshore Athletic Club in Braintree, Mass. There's like 5-6 pros just in my gym, just in one gym. And it's not, we have a lot of gyms in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different era, but your pro career, by the time you got to the pros, I always thought once you turn pro, this guy's going to destroy the pro ranks. He's going to win everything.
Yeah.
And it didn't pan out. You didn't do that many shows, but
no.
91, you did the Ironman 8th, Niagara Falls 8th, Niagara Champions didn't place, Pittsburgh 7th, San Jose 8th, a lot of 8th places that year. 93, I think that's the only time I saw you compete was at the Ironman. You were in the pro Ironman when Flex Wheeler and Paul Dillette made their pro debut, the 93 pro Ironman. You were 7th in that. You actually looked really good at that show, I thought.
Yeah.
And then 95,
that was
95 Night Champions, was that your last show? You're only 30 years old.
Yeah, I was a heroin addict, full-blown heroin addict.
Yeah. So, I mean, the addictions probably kept you from doing what you would have done as a pro.
Well, yeah, honestly, yeah, think about it. I was a drug addict from the time I was 13 years old. My whole career as a teenager and everything, I was a drug addict. It just that I wasn't doing the heroin and the meth and the crack and all that. Then I was smoking pot and drinking, you know what I mean? So I was able to make progress. But once I got into the meth and the heroin and all that, my body, I just went down fast, bro. Like I said, 30 years old, I got turned on to heroin. That was my last competition. And, that was the end of my career. And I'm not, I'm not going to sit here and pout. I could have did this or I could have did that. Hey, you know what? I did what I did. You know what I mean? I paid the price for my sins and all the life that I lived. I suffered. I've lived through more pain, physical and emotional pain in my life than, man, I'm telling you, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
you're here right now speaking to us. So
yeah, I'm here speaking to you because, it's like, my addiction was, I'm still an addict, bro. I'm a full blown hardcore addict today, but I choose to be addicted to healthy things. You know, I'm going to tell you, I'm a Jesus freak, bro. You know what I mean? I found in prison when I surrendered, when I was very suicidal for the second time, and I had no hope left. I just wanted to die because meanwhile, I'm in prison laying in a rack. You know what I mean? Asking myself a question, what in the heck happened to me, man? I'm like, I would hide under that blanket. And I'll tell people I cried myself to sleep many nights. And I would just sit there and think to myself, man, what happened to me? You know what I mean? I could have did this and I could have, I mean, and I was 309 pounds, morbidly obese, man. I had to wear compression socks. When I went to a grocery store, I had to get in an electric buggy to get around, man. I was in the worst physical shape condition a human being could possibly be in. And on top of that, I was a full-blown addict and I had suffered from mental illness.
How did you get that heavy? I don't even understand. Did you sit around and eat?
Sit around and snort 300 milligrams of oxycodone a day and 12 milligrams of Xanax and drink and eat and lay around and do nothing. You just get fat.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's what I did for years. And my addiction and my choices and my decisions in life, it finally landed me 3 years in prison. Like I said, I laid in that rack, broken and hopeless. And I knew I was never going to I was going to die a drug addict. There was, you know, I was never going to become anything. My biggest fear was if I died, no one would come to my funeral. You know what I mean? That was my fear, man. If I died, who's going to come to my funeral? Yeah. And I remember I was in prison for about 3 months. And like I said, I would cry myself to sleep. You know, I'm not a sissy, man. I know how to fight. I've been in a lot of fights. I've got beat maybe once by a big dude. But I mean, I'm a tough guy, you know what I mean? But I was in prison and I wasn't that tough guy no more, man. I was a broken, weak man. I was prey for the, you know what I mean? And I was scared out of my mind, very suicidal because I took myself off all the mental illness the mental medication for mental illness when I got to prison, because to get your meds, you had to stand outside in the middle of winter for an hour. And I didn't want to do that. So I said, I checked out and I went through a serious crash where I became very suicidal. And I remember laying in my rack just night after night, like, you know, full of anxiety and depression, like just wanting to die. And I remember I cried out to God, man. I was just like, you know, God, I mean, I'm crying. I'm like, I know you're real. I believe in you. I know you're real. I just know you are, but I can't do this. I'm like, I can't do this, man. And I'm crying and I'm bawling. I said, Lord, please help me. And it was just like, man, when I said, help me, he said, it's about time. Finally, you know, you're asking me for help. You tried it on your own all those years and look at you. Look where you're at. You know what I mean? He goes, I tell you what, you know what I mean? It was like he reached his hand down from heaven and grabbed mine when I was sinking in quicksand and pulled me up out of that murky quicksand and said, I got you, Frankie. I love you and I got you. And just hold on to me. I'm going to guide you through life. And you know what I mean? And I have not looked back. That day was 10 years ago. And my life has been glorious ever since, because my life I live today, I don't live my life. I live a life through him. I mean, when you become born again and you get Christ in your life, you have a relationship with him. He comes to live inside of you through his spirit. His Holy Spirit lives in me. And I'm empowered by the spirit that created the universe. I'm empowered by the spirit that raises the dead and parts the sea. That lives in me and it lives in every believer. And that's how I can overcome all the things that I struggled for today. And that's how I'm able to, you know, be able to do what I do, because it's not me doing it. It's him doing it through me today. Yeah. And I am here to help people, man. I want to help men and women in the sport and just anywhere, man. I mean, I was the most selfish son of a gun in the world. I stole, robbed. I just did what I had to do. Like I turned my back on people I loved, like Perillo, did whatever I did to be an addict, you know? And today it ain't like that no more, man. Today I've learned to be selfless, not selfish. You know what I mean? Instead of being self-centered, man, I've learned to be Christ-centered. And I went from being cursed to being blessed. You know what I mean? I went from being lost to being found. And today life is good, man. I couldn't even, like, if you had asked me 10 years ago, write down your dream life, the best life you could ever imagine having. My life is 100 times greater than that today. And that's what God will do for somebody who loves them.
So were you still addicted to heroin when you went into prison, or no?
Well, no. I mean, the heroin was at 30 years old. I mean, when I went to prison, I was 44. Okay. Or no, wait, I'm 56. So that was 10 years ago. I was like 48. Okay. I was 48 when I got locked up. No, at that point I was, you know what I mean? I wasn't, you know, I didn't have money for drugs. So I was scamming. That's how I got locked up. I was on Medicare, and I had I was getting this doctor to write me all these pain medications, 120, 30 milligram oxycodone and 3 Xanax a day. Well, me, the good little addict I am, I'm going to this doctor, that doctor, and I'm lying. I'm signing contracts, and, I got doctors, I was getting like over 1,000 pills a month of oxycodone, 30 milligrams, and I'm probably snorting half of it. You know what I mean? And I was a good drug addict, man, but that was the end. So when I got locked up, I wasn't actually, I had been off of the drugs for a little while because I got arrested. Okay. They didn't put me in prison. They had a warrant for my arrest to get my pills. It's a long story. It's in my book. If you want to read it, you could buy my book, Before and After.
Before and After. And where can people get that, Franco?
Before and After is my autobiography, and you can buy it if you go to my website. And my website is, the easiest way to find it is francosministry.org. Yeah. Or you can go to jackedupforjesus.com, but that's spelled weird. You know what I mean?
I see the number 4 behind you. I see it behind you, the banner. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my logo. So, but it's jacked, JACKD, no E, D, UP, 4, the number 4, Jesus.com. Jackedupforjesus.com. Or you can buy it on Amazon, I think, still. But go to my website if you want to buy the book. You'll get a signed copy, and it tells my whole life story, man. And most people that buy the book, they say it's like an action-packed movie. They buy it, and like they coming back the next day. I'm done. I'm like, wow, yeah, I read the whole book. I couldn't put it down. It was like, you're crazy, dude. Your life was nuts. You know what I mean? So, but I talk about, the bodybuilding. I talk about the addiction. I talk about prison. I talk about, calling on God and, giving my life to the Lord and what life's like today. I talk about all the miracles. I could probably tell you 30 miracles in my life. I see miracles every day. It's crazy.
Give me like the two most astonishing miracles in your life.
Well, I'll tell you my son, the birth of my son. Okay. This is a crazy, cool story. I get married to my wife. Now I'm in prison, and I tell the Lord, I give the Lord a list of the woman that I want to marry. And I told him I needed a woman 15 years younger than me because I want to have a child. I want to start over, you know what I mean? So I get out, and I knew the woman in my dream, the woman I wanted, I needed to find a younger woman because I wanted to start a family over. Well, he gave me that. Plus my wife's a little more than 15 years younger than me, but she's everything I ever could imagine in a woman. She's the most godly, God-fearing woman I've ever met in my life. She's just phenomenal. But I met her, we got married, and, immediately after 1 year, we're like, okay, it's time to get pregnant. Okay. So, 1 year goes by, 2 years go by. I'm like, Morgan, you better go get, now I've already got 2 kids. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with me. So Morgan, you need to go get checked. She goes and gets checked. Nothing. The doctor's like, you're fine. You know what I mean? So another year goes by, no kid. I'm like, Morgan, you need to go get some tests done. I mean, so she comes back, Frank, Dad is saying there's nothing wrong with me. You need to go get checked, she told me. So I said, all right. So I go to my doctor. I go in the office. I said, hey, we gotta do a check on me. So he's like, all right, we could do there's a test we can do, you know what I mean? Yeah. Use a prescription, go down this place. They're going to ask you for a donation, and, we're going to find out where you're at. Right. Well, he calls me back a couple of weeks later. He's got the results. He calls me in the office, and he says to me, Frank, you might want to think of another way of having a child. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, because you ain't got nothing going on down there. I'm like, what? He goes, you zero. You got nothing, zero. You can't get a woman pregnant.
Wow.
All right. Well, I'm not going to take that for an answer. So what can we do, Doc? Let's figure this out. You're a Christian. So come on, let's call upon the Lord, and let's, what medications am I on? Do I need to get off of? What can I do in the physical, to bring up my levels and this and that and the other thing? So we revamped my whole program. And, like 3 months or 4 months, I go get checked again. And he goes, well, you know what? You're still jacked up, but there's like 1%, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, hey man, that's all I need. Just the hope that it can happen. And I was like, Lord, so me and my wife, we were praying for this child for like all those years we weren't getting pregnant. We're crying out to God. We're praying for a baby. Okay. We're praying for a baby. And, the baby's not coming. And every month when my wife thinks she's pregnant, she's not. I'd go out in the morning and she'd be crying. And I knew it was up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm like, God, what's going on here, man? I asked for a younger woman because I wanted to have a baby. This is your word says that you'll give us the desires of our heart. why isn't she pregnant? You know what I mean? I'm like Job, man, I'm wrestling with God. You know? I got beat too. But anyways, can't beat God. So, you know, I'm just like, you know, what's going on? What's going on? And, you know, it's like 9 months go by, but now we're praying. I mean, we just know that we need prayer. We got everybody in the church praying. Well, 9 months later, my wife gave me a pregnancy test and she said she was pregnant. Okay. Now hear this. I couldn't get her pregnant. Now she's pregnant. 9 months later, she gives birth. It's in the morning. It's in the middle of the night. Check this out. I said, okay, the doctor says to the nurse, what's the time of the birth? She said, 3:33 a.m. I said, 3:33 a.m. So I'm like, man, I know there's something significant about that number. So I looked up, what's the biblical meaning of 333 in the Bible? And it's an angel number, and it's a message from your guardian angel saying your prayers have been answered.
Where's that? There's some Bible scholars out there might want to look at it.
There's a scripture in I think it was Jeremiah 33:3 or something like that. But if you just look up biblical meaning of 333, it's a guardian angel. And I don't know where, if that's biblical. It's in the Bible that says that. But and if you look it up, it tells you that it's a message from your guardian angel. It's an angelic number, an answer to your prayers.
I thought it would have been something with the Holy Trinity or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying. So here's a guy couldn't get her pregnant. Then she gets pregnant, and the God's showing me, I'm going to put my thumbprint on this child and show you that was your answered prayer. I gave you that, baby. You prayed for it, and I gave him to you. So we named him Paul. Oh, wow. But anyways, there's so many miracles. I'm like, the fact that I'm alive today is a miracle. Yeah. I mean, my wife, there's so many things in my life that, like, how, I could,
you've been declared dead twice that I know.
Twice declared dead. I've been, brought back from the life from a massive heart attack and from a heroin overdose. I've been hospitalized for suicide. My life is a miracle. Okay. And the fact that, I'm a changed person today, and I'm giving myself to help people. Like, all I want to do is I want to help men and women that suffer from depression, addiction, anxiety, suicide, anything that they're dealing with. I'm here, man. Give me a call. Contact me through my ministry. Contact me through my email, and I have spoken to so many bodybuilders in these last few years that reached out to me through Facebook and stuff and tell me they're dealing with. I even flew a guy or put a guy in a train, brought him out here and put him in rehab. I didn't even know the guy. Wow. You know what I mean? But he was suicidal and a drug addict. And I'm like, I wanted to help him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
let's talk about addiction just for a second, because, I'm familiar with it because I had two older sisters that were both heroin addicts. One of them passed away, unfortunately. The other one went to prison, and that's where she got clean. And she ended up turning her life entirely around after that. She's been clean for 30 years now. I think she had a 30-year anniversry last year. But awesome. She's a huge believer in the programs, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, 12 Steps. Did you do any of those? Do you believe in them?
I'm not gonna. Do I believe in them? I believe in anything that really works. Yeah. You know what? Those programs are support. People go there and they talk to other addicts that have made it, that are successful in the program, and they share their hope with these young men and women, and they show them how they did it. And there's, and basically the 12 steps or Narcotics Anonymous is from the Bible. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. The 12 steps, they've taken them from the Bible, from the Beatitudes. So yes, it's the 12-step program is biblical. Okay. The only thing about the programs is like, I believe in there's only one true God. That's my, there's not many gods out there. There's one God. So, if they say your higher power, people call, I don't understand how a chair or a human being or a book could be a higher power, but hey, if it works, if it's keeping them clean, it's keeping them clean. I know I went to my higher power, God, and I put my whole life, I didn't do the program. I didn't do the meetings. I just went to the Lord. I built a relationship with God in prison, and I basically follow the steps without even knowing what they are. That's my life is built around those steps. And I've turned it, I decided, living for me, I'm going to live for God and live for other people. And because I live that way, God has blessed my life. You know what I mean? And he's blessed it that what my life is blessed most with is that I have this sense of peace. It's hard to find real peace in the world because you can't. It's not there. Real real peace can only come from God. And, you know, I have that peace in my life. Because I know my life is going to be okay. Because I know I have a God that looks out for me. I mean, I know, you know, things are always going to be okay because he's got my back, you know, and I get this joy. I have the joy of the Lord. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I get to wake. I'm happy every day. If it's a good day or a bad day, I'm still happy. I'm still good, man, because I know God is good and he's on my side and he's for me.
You know, there's so many temptations. The world is very, very different than it was even 30, 40, 50 years ago. But the bodybuilding lifestyle in particular seems to me to be full of more temptations to turn. I'm not going to turn away from the Lord, to do things, because it's a very selfish, self-centered. It is in our. You have to be a great bodybuilder. At least to some extent, you have to be all about you.
Yeah,
narcissistic. And yeah, I think, I don't want to say it's a trap. It's a moral trap, the bodybuilding lifestyle, but for a lot of people, it can be, because once you're on steroids and all these other drugs, I've known guys who never would have touched a pot or Coke or anything, but they figure, well, I'm on all these drugs now anyway. What's the difference? What does it matter now?
It'll help me train better. I'll do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's why all my workouts, I took pain pills because it made me train better.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I see there's a lot of addiction in the sport, and I'm just here, you know what I mean? And I want to minister or speak. I want to speak to, you know, these people that if they need help, man, you know, you can do it without, you don't need all them drugs. You know what I mean?
Well,
you don't
I mean, to be at the high level of bodybuilding now, you do though. You really do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, I mean, if that's the route you're going to go, and I mean, but you can have a very healthy lifestyle and get and have a phenomenal physique. You know what I mean? If you want to go pro with the guys today, I mean, I think that they must have to do astronomical amount of drugs, because these guys are 100 pounds bigger than we were. And it's the same body.
Your bottle of Winstrol would have lasted them like 2 days.
Right. Yeah. I did 1 cc every other day.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how the sport has changed. I mean, do you not, you know, a lot of guys from your era, they don't have any interest in bodybuilding now because they think it's become a freak show and it's become chemical warfare, and they don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah. You know what I got to say about that is I had no interest in it whatsoever, but I'm very interested in it now. You know why? Because I keep hearing about these guys and these gals that are committing suicide, some people that were top pros suffering from addiction and all these. I'm hearing the stories and I'm like, man, I want to be there for them. I want to be a voice in the bodybuilding community in the world. And I'm so glad that we're doing this show, because people are going to hear this message of hope that I found in God, in Jesus. So, I mean, if that's my calling in life today, is to be a beacon of light in this world of community, fitness community, and spread hope. You know what I mean? Because trust me, most people in the sport are probably going to mock me and persecute me. But you know what? Who cares? Because there's that one person out there whose life is going to be saved from the message. And that's the one I care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't want to make this all about religion, because some people are going to get,
right.
But I do want to say that when I was a kid, and I mean, if you go back generations and generations, at least in this country, if you were a God-fearing, church-going person, if you weren't, I should say, you were an outcast. The people that didn't go to church, and they were like, they lived on the outskirts of the settlements and this and that, and they were pariahs. And now it's almost swung all the way around, that if you profess to have any strong religious beliefs or faith, you're looked at as a weirdo. And it's like the more acceptable thing now to be almost an atheist and just there's like, it's moral relativism where you can't judge people for anything. If they're promiscuous, oh, well, that's what they want to do. If they do this, they want to be an adult or whatever, that's their life. You got to leave them alone.
It is their life. They have a free will. Everybody has a free will to live the way they want to live.
True.
I don't judge. It's not my job to judge, but there's people that live that lifestyle and they find the pain that comes with it, man. Because when you live a life outside of, you know, a life that's sin, that it pays a toll on you. Trust me. I mean, there's something going on inside you that, you know what I mean, it is not pretty. You know what I mean? And when you're living that way, you might, if you think it's all good and great, but you know what, deep inside, there's a spirit and a soul. And it knows what's right and what's wrong, and it suffers, you know what I mean? But, you know, so, yeah, I mean, you want to get back into bodybuilding, talk about some crazy training stuff.
Yeah.
We could do that another show. I mean, I would love to talk about bodybuilding.
Yeah,
here, hold on.
Here's your gun. Yeah, I mean, geez, it's your arm, you know, you had a great physique overall, but your arms and your legs, I always thought were among the most impressive of your era.
Yeah, and
In
right
fact,
now today, those are the two body parts that are mine that are really good. My arms and my legs are thriving, doing great. The rest of my body, I'm killing it, trying to get it back.
in
You know what I mean?
fact, the Cybergenics ad that we talked about, the print ad, it was two pictures. It was the before picture was you like laying back on a chair or something.
Yeah.
And the after picture, you were holding a gym bag or something, and you had a cut off, the rag tops we used to have.
White Christian.
Yeah, and was it platinum everywhere? I don't know. But this shoulder and this freaking arm, this tricep was like whoosh. I was like, I got to get that Cybergenic stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, before we go, tell me about like what's your training like now compared to how it was.
Oh man, you know what? I know what works. You know what I mean? What works is good nutrition. You got to eat to grow.
Yeah.
Got to eat clean because I don't want to get fat. So my diet's really good and clean. I mean, right now I'm kind of cutting, but we eat as many good calories as we can a day, and we train intense. My training today, it's not what it was then. Trust me. I wish I could get back there again, but it's intense because I know when I'm in the gym, I got to get into the pain zone. I got to get those forced reps. I got to do the negatives because I know what works. You got to break the muscle down. You got to tear it down. And I was real good at that. And that's how I grew, because I knew how to tear my muscle down. I would go in the gym berserko and just destroy my body every workout. In fact, there's only one person that took me down in a workout I trained with. I trained with a lot of pros, a lot of people, and no one could ever out-train me. But there was one man that did that.
Rich Gaspari.
Richie Gaspari.
Was it really? Wow, that was just a wild guess, but
nope. Wow. Richie Gaspari, man. We had a battle of chest. It was a chest workout.
Oh, there you go.
All right. You there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Yeah, my battery. Yeah, we had a chest workout. We kind of like, I was the upcoming star and Richie was the pro. And, people were talking about me and him. It was like, it was like a rival. Yeah. So we said, we both decided that we're going to do this chest workout. And I think, I thought I was going to take him down. But I do got to say, I think I did an 8-ball the day before or something. No sleep. I went but man, we went at it for an hour and a half on chest. And finally, I'm like, man, this guy's not going to quit. Yeah. And I just looked at him. I go, you have enough? You good? And he looked at me. He goes, are you good? I said, I'm good. He goes, well, if you're good, then I'm good. I mean, he didn't he wanted me to say I was good. Like he was not going to quit. Yeah. But yeah,
I've trained with Rich fairly recently, only a few years ago, and he's still like that.
Yeah, I'm like 50s. That now too. I love to train intense. I do forced reps, stretching. I mean, I try to go as hard, break sets, all that. I love it because I'm addicted to training. Those workouts get me high. Yeah. You know what I mean? You get them endorphins. I like it.
I'm just curious, how are your joints, shoulders, knees, lower back? Really, they're all good. Wow.
Beautiful. I got no injuries, man. Wow. I'm good to go, man. Wow. That's from the pro principles. All that stretching in between every set I ever did prevented me from getting, injuries, and it kept my joints and my connective tissues and tendons and ligaments strong. Wow. So I'm good, man.
I wish I could say the same, Franco. I'm a wreck, but that's great. So, I mean, I want people to follow it. What's your Instagram again? We're going to flash it on the screen, but of course.
It's Jacked Up for Jesus Instagram. Yeah. And then you could go to Facebook. It's Jacked Up for Jesus on my Facebook page. But pretty soon, like I said, we're going to be launching here soon. And I'm going to make a little commercial like Cybergenics did, but it's going to be a little before and after transformation of my wife and her story and my little story. And we're going to do some marketing. And I'm going to be marketing this business. It's all in. Yeah. It's a fitness company. We do, training. If you're interested in building lean muscle, I'm going to show you how to do it.
Oh, that's not showing, but you also have Franco Santoriello on Instagram too.
Yeah, Franco Santoriello. Okay.
And it's got some cool pictures and videos and stuff on there.
Yeah. So, but you could, we're going to coach people on how to build muscle and in a healthy way. And the fastest you can put muscle on, I'm going to show you how to do it through good nutrition, training and nutrition. And then I'm there as a coach too, like a mentor and a life coach to help men and women that are suffering or just want, some good fellowship, some good support on a positive, want to be positive. I'm very positive motivator. I'm a great motivating people.
Yeah, because this is very important, because I think a lot of us in the bodybuilding world, we focus 100% on the physical, and we don't really nourish the spirit. We don't really nourish things like positivity, the mind, the soul, all that stuff, the spirit.
Yeah. and you're a three-part being. You know, you have a mind, a body, and a spirit. So your
Mhm.
spirit needs to be tended to. And that's what I want to do, is show people how to tend to their spirit, to grow spiritually, because you have to be strong in the spirit in this world that we live in today, because it's a battle out there, you know, and there's a battle in the mind. I mean, it's a battlefield of the mind. There's good and there's evil, man. So your good has got to be better. You got to be led by the spirit and good. Otherwise, it's easy to go down the wrong path. You know what I mean? The wrong path leads to destruction. The Bible says that the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy, but God came to bring life and in abundance. So when you live in the light, you have a very fruitful, abundant, purposeful life. When you live in the dark, it gets bad, man. It's destruction, death. You know, I mean, I know, I lived it. I've been there.
This is a random question, but, you know, do you believe, this is going to sound weird, do you believe we're in the final days of the human race?
Do I? You know what? It sure looks like it. I mean, kind of points to it. But you know what I mean? The final days could be another 100 years, 200 years.
Could be another 1,000 years, you know? I mean,
yeah, it could be another 1,000 years. But I mean, the Bible says it's going on right now. You know what I mean? It looks like it to me, but I'm not going to, I'm going to live every day like it's my last. You know what I mean? I'm going to live. I'm going to try to continue to do good and help people. I want to, you know, minister to people. I want to encourage people. I want to lift people up. I want to speak words of life, not death. I want to see people get healthier, you know, physically and spiritually. And I want to be there to help them do it. Cool. So you could, you know, contact me if you want. My email, if you're just going to, like, Franco Santoriello, look how you spell it, Franco Santoriello 3. I have several emails, but that's the easiest one to remember. Franco Santoriello 3 at Gmail.
Franco Santoriello 3 at Gmail. We'll have links in the description. I'll put the email, I'll put the websites, all that good stuff, so people can find the book and find your websites and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So Franco, it's been great catching up, because I haven't spoken to you in 25 years, I think, or more.
Yeah. Where you at?
A long time. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And but like I said, we have that Lou's Wick and John Perillo connection. So I always followed your career and always, you know, hoped you were doing well. I'm glad to hear that you turned everything around with the help of the Lord and all that, because the path you went down, most people never come back. Most people,
right? Yeah, they don't. No,
it ends in death for most people.
Yeah, it does. I know. I've been there.
So,
but
well, all right. Well, thank you, Franco, for taking the time. It's been really cool to see and talk to you again after all these years, and we'll do it again sometime for sure.
For sure. Thank you for having me on your show, and God bless.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Ronline Report with this man, Franco Santoriello. We'll see you next time.